your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, good evening, happy campers. How are you? Is it drizzly and wet where you are? Well, I think unless you're in the sort of northern reaches of Scotland, the answer is probably yes. Doesn't half put a dampener, mind the pun, on one's day, doesn't it? So when you sort of open the curtains and you just go, oh well. It feels like it's been like that for weeks. When are we going to see the sun again? I'm sort of clinging on. It's the dying embers of winter and I'm counting down the days till March, counting down as well the days till we see the back of Sir Keir Starmer, it would appear. Although, I don't know, we all get very excited, don't we? Because we resent that man so much. We're like, oh gosh, can he just go now? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you my little sort of change of heart somewhat. It's not so much a change of heart, it's my pragmatic re-evaluation of our situation, which is this. I'm beginning to think Sir Keir Starmer's just, you know, not made for politics, really. And I think it's everybody else around him who, he's basically just a mannequin, isn't he? He's like, hello, my name is Sir Keir Starmer. I like the letter of the law. I do what other people tell me to. And those other people, I kind of feel are the ones who we should have the greatest issue with, the ones who are just not accountable. They're not even elected, and it seems their ideologies are so radical. I really want somebody to do some digging into potential conflicts of interests and back histories, because effectively there's this cartel of barristers, radical left-wing barristers who are running our country from the wings. And that's not okay. You know, we can point at Starmer and go, well, he's terrible, let's get rid of him. But what about them? If they go with him, then great, okay, I could probably live with that. But then my concern is, what do we get in his place? I mean, are we really sitting here champing at the bit for Angela Rayner to be Prime Minister? If you're sitting there and you think that's a good idea, I suggest you really go to a psychologist and check your abilities for mental evaluation, because it might seem entertaining, it might seem funny. To some people, she might be a likeable character. To others, I've heard people say, well, you know, she might be working class, but she's actually very bright. Really? That would be our Prime Minister? Of all the human beings on the planet, that would be representing brand Britain on the global stage? Rather stick with Sir Keir Starmer, quite frankly. At least he, I don't know, has a degree of statesmanship and plausibility about him, and I know that's doing a lot of heavy lifting right now. But I am just, it's a screaming mess, all of this. I mean, what we need is not necessarily him gone. We need the entire government gone. We need it in the dustbin of history, to coin a Trotskyist term. We need it nowhere near the levers of power, because it feels like national self-harm having a socialist government right now. And mark my words, the things lining up to replace Sir Keir Starmer are potentially even more radical than him. Don't forget, Angela Rayner was the one of the banter ban lot. I mean, that's her legislation. And do you know what? Can you imagine her going to have negotiations? Seriously, I'm just imagining her literally trying to have negotiations with world leaders around the G7. Oh, yeah, like, I think as Uzbekistan, yeah. She wouldn't even know where to point on a map. Like, come on. Seriously. What, we want Ladybird book guides to how to run a country? Come on. We've got to do better than this, Britain. I curse all of you who either didn't vote or voted for that lot. Because look what you've done. Oh, anyway. Oh, if you don't laugh, you're just going to cry, aren't you? So at least that's what we try and do a little bit on this show. When we've gnawed through the nastiness of the news, we then try and have our three-fingered gin and tonics and put a little smile on our face. But it seems hard to do right now. Let's see if some of my wonderful guests, or indeed you, can achieve the impossible today. Let's start off with you, shall we? Because if you want to try and make this little girl happy, then you just call this number, 03444 99 1000. It's your normal network rate, and I could do with the sort of solace right now. You can also use that number to send me a WhatsApp message or leave me a cheery little bouncy voice note. Make it fun, please. A limerick, a rap, I don't know, a little ditty. Do it in a funny accent. I don't care. Just cheer us all up, would you? 8722 is the number if you want to send a text message. If you're going to do that, you've got to write talk before you text. Everything's your normal network rate, etc. Terms and conditions apply. OK, right. So that's your opportunity to make a girl smile. Let's see if Philip Kissley can do the same. Senior fellow at the New Culture Forum. Hi, Philip. How are you?
Oh, hi, Alex. How are you? What a day, eh?
I feel like the weather, if I'm honest. I feel everything... Do you know, doing this blimmin' job, it just makes you feel miserable because you have to talk about the news and it's never good. It's never good.
It really isn't. And today has just been just one of those days. It feels like the whole country's grinding to a halt. The whole system's grinding to a halt. You've got you've got Keir Starmer, like literally back against the wall. He's going. He's a dead man walking. And just as I was talking about that and reading about it before, there's some horrible, violent incident in a school in Wales, and it just feels like, yeah, this is Starmer's Britain. This is what happens. This is what we're lumbered with. It's pouring down. It's grey, it's miserable, and it feels like the sooner he's gone, the better. But I'm with you, actually. What you just said before really chimed with me. What have we got to look forward to? We've got an interim Prime Minister, David Lammy.
Don't. I want no, Philip. I wanted cheering up. Come on, it's not funny. Funny.
We've got to go through the pain first, and then we'll have some fun later.
David Lammy, Prime Minister. There are no words for that. I mean, Angela Rayner's better.
Well, the thing is, you get David Lammy, and he's going to kind of somehow accidentally sell the country or something.
Oh, we'll be paying slavery reparations if he's Prime Minister. May as well just, empty my pockets, my bank account, sell my house and, start making a brazier underneath the nearest motorway bridge right now. It's
only 19 billion. It's only 19 billion. And then we've got, it's 19 trillion, isn't it? Sorry, not 19 billion. That'd be.
Yeah, I was going to say 19 billion. That's less than restoring the Houses of Parliament. That's a steal.
Exactly. Yeah, and it would probably take less than 60 years. But after David Lammy, then you've got the devastatingly limited person, which is Angela Rayner.
Devastatingly limited. What a perfect way of putting it.
She cannot string a sentence together. She's semi-literate, and we're from the same place. We're both from Manchester, and so people think, oh, well, that's working class. No, it's not. It really isn't.
I hate this sort of way that people sort of go, well, she's really bright. You're just being a snob because she's working class, and I'm like, no, she's just an idiot.
Yeah.
She's embarrassingly idiotic. She's cartoonish, I'm technically, I suppose, in the working classes, whatever that means. But it doesn't mean you have to speak like an absolute buffoon. And like I said, there's one thing, her domestic agenda would be radical. Because, I'm moaning about Keir Starmer having these sort of shadowy, sordid puppet masters who, frankly, I don't think anybody has really dug down into them, what their intentions are, how much power they wield, whether there's conflicts of interest, because some of them scare the living bejesus out of me. But, Starmer might be the puppet of some pretty dark, radical barristers. But she's the puppet of the unions, who are frankly short-fringed, blue-haired, screaming psychopaths.
Yeah, it feels as though, the definition of a socialist is doing the wrong thing over and over and over again and not learning by your mistakes, which is also the definition of insanity as well, actually. So what you have there is you've got the unions, but also you've got these middle-class, blue-haired lunatics screaming for gender rights and race this and sexuality that and all the rest of it. And the problem is that the Labour Party always has done. They've always allowed these middle-class idiots, coupled with the lunatics in the unions, to call the beat, to really push the agenda. And that has been catastrophic for the country year upon year upon year. It was devastating in the 1970s, right? So we had the winter of discontent, 1978 to 1979, really, really awful. And then we thought we'd have a new start and we'd move forward with Margaret Thatcher, which we did. The problem now is that many people, especially young people, blue-haired people, they don't remember the 1970s because they weren't there. And this is why socialism comes back to haunt us time and time again, because we don't learn the lessons of history, mainly because some people don't want to, but mostly because people don't forget just how awful it is, how awful it would be having an Angela Rayner, and they're all the same.
Well, you know,
and Angela Rayner rule over us.
This is the result of infantilizing people until they're, you know, God knows how old. Everyone's sort of treated like a baby these days, and so they want baby politics. They want childish politics. Be kind. No, I mean, you know, it is... everything's become so banal, so watered down, so oversimplistic, so inverted. When you see you've got grown-up adults cheering on the idea of Angela Rayner as Prime Minister, I'm like, OK, they need full frontal lobotomies. For the purpose of balance, shall we hear Sir Keir Starmer defending himself and basically pointing every single finger of blame available to him at everybody but in the reverse direction? Let's have a look.
To learn that there was a cabinet minister leaking sensitive information at the height of the response to the 2008 crash is beyond infuriating. And I am as angry as the public and any member of this House. Mandelson betrayed our country, our Parliament and my party.
That's your lot. Those are your masters, Sir Keir. You know, the people who told you, if you're saying, oh, well, people told me to employ him and he turns out like he's a wrong 'un, OK, who are these people who told you to employ him? Should we be flushing them out? Right? Should we be asking questions of them as well? Because it seems to me the entire backroom of that political party have ill intent. I just think that we, sadly, have let in either a bunch of actually, I think most of the people who are actually elected are a bunch of incompetents. But like I said, I think there's some extremely sinister, shadowy figures in the background running things, and we're not asking questions about them. And I actually think, you know, Nigel Farage has turned around and says the Lord Mandelson controversy is the biggest scandal in British politics for over 100 years. And I think on that matter, he is fairly accurate. You know, this is a man who potentially was working as a double agent to the hostile regimes right at the heart of government as Deputy Prime Minister. You know, multiple lives like a Rasputin popping back up out of the cracks in the woodwork to haunt us once again with his menacing ways. But like I said, that might be the case. I want to know about these other people. Why are we not asking questions about them?
Yeah, I mean, this is classic deep state stuff, isn't it? You know, and it's one of those things where you desperately want to dig down and find out just what the hell's going on. But as the Epstein letters have shown us, you know, the more you dig down, the more you realize just how not only sinister this kind of stuff is, this kind of dark power, this kind of, you know, tentacles power type stuff. It's also incredibly frightening and dangerous as well. But I was just looking at the footage there and looking at the nodding dogs behind Starmer while he was making his excuses. I mean, he came out today and blamed the security services, didn't he? Now, that is utter desperation. One thing politicians shouldn't do is blame the security services because they can't speak back. You know, they just have to stay silent. So when a politician does that, you know, one, that they're probably lying, and two, that they are utterly desperate. But just looking but sorry, just to make the point, Alex, I think it's a really important point, this. Looking at those politicians there, oh, they're all outraged by Mandelson, they're all outraged by child abuse and corruption. Really? They weren't that outraged when Starmer and co refused or dragged their heels to have a national inquiry about the Pakistani rape gangs in northern towns. They weren't outraged then, were they? No, this is political. This is about, they are vultures vultures circling. They see opportunities for themselves, or they're trying to kind of defend themselves. And it's all about them. And it really is sickening to look at them, because all you have to do, you don't have to go far back in time. All you need is a little bit of context that is just a few months ago, and you see what liars, what charlatans these people are. And yes, how the hell did they get to represent us?
More than anything, I think the most insulting thing about the majority of the cabinet is they're just embarrassingly low grade. Yeah. They're just really embarrassingly low grade. In the real world, I can't think of any of them who have made it to, who would have made it to a senior position in business, even in the public sector. I don't think any of them would have had six-figure salaries if they lived in the real world, and that they've ended up running our country. I mean, they could barely manage a local library, half of them. They are so appallingly, wincingly, skin-crawlingly abysmal that it just reflects so badly on Britain. You know, it's interesting, it's something happening in the left wing in general, because you look at the Democrats over in America, and they seem to have the same problem, that when it came to presidential candidates, one man was basically already in the morgue, and the thing they rolled out as the alternative was, I don't even know what that was, that screeching, ludicrous, idiotic woman with that awful, piercing laugh. And you think you've got a population of 300 million people, and this is all you've got to offer as your candidate. And I look at the Labour Party and I think, you know, love them or loathe them, Gordon Brown was a highly intelligent, serious man. Tony Blair was a highly intelligent, serious man. OK, I don't care for their politics, but they were proper politicians. You know, they had gone to the top universities. They were highly intelligent people. They knew how to do the job. They were perfectly viable statesmen. You didn't look at them at a G7 and think, gosh, that's a bit weird, isn't it? Like you would do if Angela Rayner rolled up in a sort of like, you know, flamenco-coloured ASOS suit. But you look at the current Labour Party and it's a joke. It's like a pantomime. The only one who I think has got any degree of credibility, who I'd say, do you know what, if just one of them was left, get rid of all of them. If I could pick the one to replace Starmer, it'd be, is it Dan Jarvis, the guy who's ex-military? He's actually the only one I think looks like a credible human being.
And I'm surprised he's there. You know, I mean, that just sums it all up for me. I think one of the real problems for me, listening to Keir Starmer and listening to any other member of the cabinet, is that they have practically zero political nous. You know, no kind of instinct about what they should do, what they should say. And they cannot kind of read situations or gauge situations. I know Kev was just saying before that, okay, he's speaking a bit more like a human being now, and I agree with that. But by God, it's a bit late. He should have been speaking like a human being before, you know. The problem is he's a human rights lawyer. And the problem is these are middle management types in the public sector, and they are all captured. They all live in a bubble. It's all nonsense. They don't deal with the real life. And part of the problem is it's another story that we might come on to today, but people have no targets. There's no sense of, you know, this is what you should achieve in this job. This is what you should be doing. There's none of that. You just roll on from year to year to year to being totally incompetent. And these people who really came to the fore during COVID, during lockdown, and really started dominating the culture, we see them in the Labour Party. We see them in the cabinet, and it's this awful layer of mediocrity and silliness that we need to peel away. And it needs to be, our politicians need to be like our business people who work for themselves, work for companies. You actually need to demonstrate success. You need to get things done. Forget ideology, forget concepts, forget theories. We don't care. We want Britain, good ship Britain, to sail. We want our children to be healthy. We want them to be well educated. One of the problems you were talking about before is that people don't know anything. People aren't well educated. It's just this thing, isn't it? Of, you know, be kind,
I think it goes more than that. It's not just people aren't well educated, people aren't well. They're not well in their head. Some sort of insanity has gripped most of the nation. And, you know, I've been in politics for a long time, in this country and abroad, and I'll tell you what I know, which is you got the front line, the faces you see on the television, doing the media rounds, who sit in cabinet. You've always got above them people whose name you'd never have heard of, who actually wield all the power and all the control. There is always the big influencers behind the throne. Believe you me, there's not many political parties and not many governments in the entire world that does not have secretive operatives in the shadows actually making some of the biggest calls. And with this lot, because they're incompetent nincompoops, they're far easier to control, which is why I want to know. I want to ask questions, because whether it's this government or the previous government, it's the same organisations that keep popping up in the form of barristers' chambers, think tanks, and I want to know what's going on with them, because clearly some of them have extremely injurious, radical, left-wing, communist ideas which will bring great harm unto this nation, which is already bringing great harm unto this nation, and we're not asking those questions. And yet when the Conservatives are in power, we hear everything about every donor. Someone's provided money for gold wallpaper, someone's done this, someone was at a dinner where there was sort of like, you know, tarty waitresses walking around in short skirts, whatever. You know, the legacy media were tripping over themselves to dig up dirt on anybody, people you've never even heard of. Right now, the key figures who actually do, it seems to me, hold the strings are in plain sight, and no one's doing anything about it. And what we've learned, if there's one lesson we need to learn from this whole Mandelson scandal, is it is time to start asking questions, and fast, because this lot really are driving us to hell in a handcart, and it scares me.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of us have been saying this for quite a long time. It isn't just about the government, and it isn't just about changing the government. It's what goes on beneath. And that isn't just the civil service. As you were saying that, and a very eloquent kind of a blast of common sense there, I was thinking about, actually, this goes right back to the Blair government, doesn't it? This is about quangos, but it's more than that. It's about, coming back to lawyers, human rights lawyers. It's about lawfare. It's about controlling people. It's about, you know, they always talk about transparency, don't they? And you mentioned think tanks before, and if they're, you know, and if they're attacking think tanks on the right, they always say, well, where's your funding and all the rest of it. Yeah. They are so hypocritical. And one of the real problems we have in this country, we are suffering, this class of people, we are suffering from a kind of terminal hypocrisy, and we really need to remove them. We really need to get rid of this network which just holds everybody back. It holds politics back, but it holds business back. It stops us looking after ourselves. It keeps the borders open. They are obsessed with ideology. No one cares. People do not care about ideology. People want to be safe. They want a country that works. They want a reasonable amount of wealth, and they want to enjoy themselves. Yeah. And they want something to hand on to their children, Alex. That's a key thing. And it feels at the moment as though that's not going to happen. No, it depresses me more than anything. You know, I'm barely halfway through my life, if I've got a decent enough lifespan, and I'm looking at my own future going, it's really dismal. And that actually is very depressing. Well, on that note, let's go and have a little break, shall we? I'll load up on some Coke Zero. You guys at home, you know, sun's over the yard arm. I'd pour yourself a stiff one if I were you. Yes, you know already, it's the three-fingered gin and tonic, or whatever your poison is. And when we come back, we'll cheer ourselves up, shall we, over the fact that these porous borders are just seeming to become even bigger, festering, gaping wounds around our national frontiers. Hurrah! That's coming up after this break.
This is Talk.
And breathe. Now let's talk about Lucy Connolly, shall we? Philip, do you know, it's funny. The digging down into this story and the ghostly figure behind the fast tracking of this racial hatred charge. And no doubt, I wouldn't be surprised, although I don't know, and he is a barrister, so he'll probably come after me. But I want to know who the architect of the televisation of those show trials was, because never before have I seen so many people lined up on a conveyor belt, fast-forwarded through a courtroom, all told to plead guilty. Who came up with that? Who decided that was legally viable, that none of these people should actually face a fair trial, right? Who are the architects of these plans? Some of the most wicked, inhumane plans, strategies, tactics used against our population. This is what I'm saying. We need to ask questions of these people. This Attorney General, Lord Hermer, time and again, his name comes up in connection to things that, quite frankly, need a little deeper digging. Let's have we got to put his line out. His spokesman says decisions to prosecute are, rightly, made independently of the government by the Crown Prosecution Service. Oh, yeah. Starmer used to head that up, didn't he? For a small number of offences, it is a legal requirement that the CPS obtains the Attorney General's consent after it has decided to prosecute. This case was responded to in the same manner and timeline as many other similar cases at the time. Right? At the time. Let's put a big circle around at the time. I remember that creepy, dystopian, harrowing time after the Southport riots, when we're being lied to and people being hauled out of their houses in the dead of night for something they put online and then find themselves festering in a prison cell without representation, and all of a sudden someone from the CPS comes along and goes, you better plead guilty or it's curtains for you. So in they went, pleaded guilty, and those, the ones who didn't, right, the brave, tiny number of people who said, no, I'm actually not going to plead guilty. None of them, I don't believe. I don't think any of them ended up in prison. So what does that tell you?
Well, it tells you an absolute a lot. But when you were just talking there, I was thinking about Peter Lynch, who died in prison because he was sent to prison. You know, he was a granddad who was rightly angry. He wasn't well. You know, he had a bad heart and all the rest of it. He died in prison. Okay. Hermer, of course, was parachuted into the government by Starmer. You know, again, it's a human rights lawyer, and it just feels as though they're terrified. You know, it feels as though they're just trying to keep a lid on it. So people like us, people who are listening to this now, who are angry, rightly angry, who care about their country, who love their country, and who feel as though they want to do something, they are terrified of those people. But the point is, they're also terrified of the other people. They're terrified of Islamists. They're terrified of people kicking off. They're terrified of terrorism and all of that.
Did you really think that these barristers are terrified of Islamists? Because I'm sorry, I'm not sure that's the case.
Well, no.
I think there's a weird, unholy relationship going on. Especially, actually, you know, let's go back to some of these people from the old Matrix chambers or Doubter chambers or whatnot.
Alex, let me just make the point, because that's not the end of the point. Okay, so I don't think it's just the barristers. Okay, yes, they are manipulating everything, but I think the politicians are terrified of Islamism. I think the general, you know, the blob, everything beneath it as well, is a combination of pushing Islamism and infiltration, but there is also an element of fear there. It's like all of this stuff, it's out of control, and you have bad actors, these lawyers that we've been talking about, which we really, really must look into. My God, if ever there's a documentary there, if ever there's a report there, we must do it. But these people, it's a combination of different types of people that are ruining this country and actually making it ridiculously unsafe for everybody else. Now, I'm 54. You were talking about your age before. I'm 54. I've been around for quite a long time, and I've been commentating for quite a long time. I've never felt like this before. I've never felt as though, my God, we're teetering on the edge of the abyss here. If we don't do something soon, we literally are going to be in trouble. There is going to be no future. And we cannot have a situation in which you say something something on Twitter, you express concern about mass immigration, you say something that you love your country, and then all of a sudden, you know, I'm flabbergasted that they haven't knocked on my door, but maybe I'm not the kind of person they're going for. Maybe I can look after myself because I've got a bit of experience. Maybe it's people who have no experience in the media, people who just say things online. They're the easy pickings, and they're the people we really need to look out for.
I mean, I was just looking at, I did a Google there of Lord Hermer's career. Because I did this before, actually, and I've got somewhere a document with a lot more detail, but unfortunately my brain isn't telegraphic. It doesn't remember things as well as perhaps I'd want it to at times. But just, you know, looking there at the people he's represented, he represented Gerry Adams. Well, that's reassuring. He was on the side of Shamima Begum. Well, that's reassuring. He was on the side of another terrorist, Abid Nasir. Well, that's reassuring. He brought cases against the police, brought cases against the military. This person is the highest legal power in the land now. That alone should warrant a little bit of curiosity from members of the media, one would think. Philip, I've got to say goodbye to you, honey, because we're running out of time, but thank you. I felt like a free therapy session getting things off my chest just now. Oh, the brilliant Philip Kisserly. Right, we're taking a short break. After the break, I've got loads of messages here that I want to get through because I haven't read any yet tonight, but keep them coming in. 03444 99 1000 on WhatsApp, 8722 on text, like the word talk. Before you text, please. I'll see you on the other side of this.
I have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America.
That is why I said the use of tariffs against allies is completely wrong.
You know, the fact that they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land. We're not going to have Russia or China occupy Greenland. So we're going to be doing something with Greenland either the nice way or the more difficult way.
Any decision about the future status of Greenland belongs to the people of Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark alone.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
There's a high probability I've got some wakame stuck between my teeth. Sorry about that. Eating a little bit of dinner on the side during the advert breaks. I'm going to have to talk like this just in case I do. Yeah, definitely, I can feel it. Hi, Alex. I couldn't agree more. Starmer makes my skin crawl, but sadly, scarily, he's the best they have to offer. Prime Minister Lammy? Prime Minister Rayner? No, no, no. We are doomed, Captain Mannering. Doomed, says Jason Grumpy from Pompey. Yep. Alex Starmer will cling on. And don't you just get fed up with the Angela fan club? Perhaps the only one might be Wes Streeting and Shabana and the boats. She can't guarantee stopping them. Surprise, surprise. Margaret in Birmingham. Robin Portsmouth says, please, please, please run for office as Home Secretary. Not on your Nelly. The only person nails enough to do that job, I'm telling you right now, is Donald Trump. I ain't got the backbone for it. You're so right, Alex. We're with you all the way. Says Helen in Knutsford. Alex, you speak for millions of us. From John in Wallington. I told you, we're all collectively mentally ill at this point. Oh, Alex, couldn't have said it better myself. Well, thanks, Sophia. Well said, Alex. Oh, gosh, she's all nice. I told you I wanted cheering up. This is potentially working, or just concretising the fact that I'm right, that we've all got many reasons to despair. Well said, Alex. You're saying what many feel, I think. I'm afraid of the future. I've worked all my life, and all I see ahead is a hideous end to it. We love you, Alex. Why, thanks. My word, I wish I could rant as well as you. Really? I'll tell you what, my commute home last night has cast a dark shadow over my mood. Alex, you're not alone. You're also a phenomenal journalist and broadcaster who's needed more than ever by this country. Oh, thanks, Jane. Go, Alex, go. I agree with every word you say. Paul in Oxford. I think Dean's just trying to cheer me up because I came in with a real bee in my bonnet. And he told me off and sent me down to makeup and said if I didn't come up and put a smile on everyone's faces, I was in trouble. See, haven't done that, have I? Hi, Alex. Bloody hell, I'm choking up listening to you. You're so right about everything. I think we deserve a general election right now. I think we've all earned it. Sue from Essex, we have earned it. And just the best ranter in town you are, Alex, says Matt. If I read these out, my head's going to be so big, I'm not going to be able to get out that door. But thanks, Alex is brilliant. Yay. I wish she was our PM. Be careful what you wish for. Oh, well, they're just all very nice. OK, well, thanks for those nice messages. I'm not going to read any more out because I'm going to sound like an absolute egoist if I do. But do stay tuned for the next 2 hours. I'll make it worth it. See you soon.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
All right, then, shall we try and, I was just saying to old Dean there, this programme's like a walk with Gaza, isn't it? It's like having bipolar. I start off really miserable and sad and despairing. Hour 2, we're going to try and cheer ourselves up a bit. By hour 3, we're going to be living like it's like, living like it's what? 1999. Peak civilization. We'll be having a good time. by 9 o'clock. We are going to be joined by the gorgeous Samara Gill, which helps, doesn't it? Feast for the eyes and for the ears. And we've deliberately pulled together some more fun stories for what we're now regularly calling Weird Hour. So do hang on. I know things might feel a bit miserable right now. Oh, we've also got, by the way, a great guest, right? Coming up at 9 o'clock, we've got Graham Linehan, because he has just been over to the United States to testify in front of the House Judiciary Committee all about the dystopian situation, the anti-free speech situation in the United Kingdom. And I think, you know, one thing that's put me in a really grim mood, and of course, oh, they're not reporting on it, are they? Looking up here, Sky, BBC, they're not talking about this. But the House Judicial Committee has just dropped a report. They started garnering information in February 2025 about how Europe is trying to manage messaging, let's say, to put it politely. So they asked all the big tech companies to come and provide evidence and questionnaire people. They've looked at prosecutions for social media offences, and the report has just landed. My goodness. Oh, it's sinister. It's worse than I even expected. The EU, the Politburo, i.e. the European Commission, the unelected weirdos who run that crazy global socialist project, literally were dictating to all the social media platforms, apart from X, because they wouldn't rise to it, what they could say, what they couldn't, how they needed to be moderated. There's actual written evidence that there was an instruction that questioning, saying biological sex was a thing, was hate speech. Hate speech. Right? This is the EU commanding social media. And even scarier, is the fact that they essentially, oh my God, there's all this weird thing with elections. They interfered with social media very heavily ahead of certain elections where populist parties looked like they were going to win. And Romania especially was a ghoulish occurrence, because Georgescu, who was the candidate there, was extremely popular, especially among young people, a populist who didn't like the EU. Anyway, that election, the Romanian courts nullified it, right? On the instruction of the EU. They nullified it because they said, well, he only won because of all these bots on TikTok over promoting him, and they were Russia. So he won because it was Russian interference. They cancelled the result. It wasn't true. There was no Russian interference. When TikTok ran their analysis, none. Not a single bit of Russian bottery going on. But he was massively promoted. Oh no, there was something at play. There were people pushing to make him as big as possible. And it turned out it was another Romanian political party. And my question is, right, so did the EU go to them and say, you do this, push this candidate, we're going to say it's Russia, and then we'll nullify the result? I mean, seriously, you might think that sounds tinfoil hat. You might think that sounds like a conspiracy theory. I'm telling you right now, I don't think it is. The receipts are there. You can read that report. In fact, you can go on my Substack if you would like, thatalexwoman.com. Sign up and read my entire analysis for yourself with all the evidence. I have grabbed pages of that report for you to read with your own eyes. Sleep well tonight. OK, let's get back to matters Mandelson, shall we? Because I'm joined now by a brilliant friend of mine, the erudite and excellent Benedict Spence. How you doing, Benny boy?
Well, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, miserable, depressed, hate this blimmin' world we live in. Cheer me up, would you? Talk to me about Mandelson. Isn't he a funny character?
Ah, yes, a great lad. You know, famously, in fact, the life and soul of every party. Nobody has a bad word to say about him. I was going to say, you want to sort of talk about something that's upbeat, and then you go for that guy. Look, I suppose the upbeat thing is, it's showing up an awful lot of people for the mugs that we all knew they were, but didn't quite have enough evidence to prove. Now we have a great litany of people who, it turns out, when we were told the grown-ups back in charge, are not quite as grown-up or as smart as they thought.
No, exactly. Shall we look at Mug-in-Chief? Keir Starmer says he's very, very sorry.
I want to say this. I am sorry. Sorry for what was done to you. Sorry that so many people with power failed you. Sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies and appointed him. And sorry that even now you're forced to watch this story unfold in public once again.
Oh, the juxtaposition of Starmer standing there going, I'm really sorry. Sorry for being a useless Prime Minister. Sorry for being duped. Standing in front of a sign saying pride in place. Oh, goodness. I mean, they might not have much pride, but he doesn't even have any shame. That's what's so concerning.
I mean, it's the funny thing is, when you're at that stage as the Prime Minister where you're trying to pretend to give a grovelling apology, you are in a world of trouble where you're doing that. And, you know, as much as anything else, nobody actually believes that this is sincere. But when you're trying to pull that stunt of going, yes, I'm listening, I've reflected, I've made a mistake, you're toast, you're done. We've all known that Keir Starmer is finished as Prime Minister for months now. The electorate knows, most of his party knows. The only person who doesn't seem aware of this is Keir Starmer himself. We all understand now the depths of the judgment issues at play here. It's not simply a few random examples. This is somebody that we all knew was tied to a pretty insidious story that we all knew was going to blow up because the Trump administration had said that they were going to get to the bottom of it and that they were going to reveal everything that was going on. There is no way that he can get away with saying, oh, Peter Mandelson lied to me. Well, yeah, of course he lied to you. Of course he did. That's what he does. How could you be so stupid to not know that he was? And on top of that, this is also part of the problem. How can we believe that you're not lying? Because the security services knew all about this. The stories were well reported. It would have been in the press, his proximity to Jeffrey Epstein, years in advance. Yeah. There's no way that he can sit there and go, oh, I was lied to. Well, yeah, you dolt. Now you're lying to us.
No, exactly. I mean, Mandelson is one of the most mendacious figures to actually exist in politics in recent times. And I mean, for goodness sakes, even his own party gave him the nickname the Dark Prince or something. Yeah. I mean, oh, what has he suddenly, like, I don't know, seen the light, had a Damascene conversion, now he likes to play nicely? Come on! And this is the thing. Enough isn't asked about the Labour Party. Their manifesto wasn't scrutinised before they came into power. Some of these more sinister policies they've tried to foist upon us, from full-term abortions, euthanasia at a time when the NHS is on its knees, chucking people in prison for social media posts, coordinating televised trials, getting rid of juries, cancelling elections. I mean, seriously, when I'm reading out the litany of the mad things that this government has done, I feel like I'm talking about the DRC or something. You know, when I worked in Africa, and which I've done a lot of, you know, they'd always say to us, you know, you're so lucky, our countries are so corrupt. They've got so much endemic corruption. I'd say, well, yeah, they do. You've got a heck of a lot of casual corruption going on. But in the UK, oh, we still have corruption. It's probably just a lot bigger and a lot more sophisticated. And I think that Mandelson is testament to that particular assertion. And I don't think this begins and ends with him. I don't think he stands alone as somebody who's managed to pull the wool over people's eyes, who's been playing games in politics, in positions of power, exploiting the system, making inappropriate friends, offering backhand, whatever it may be. I mean, the man's going to have a police investigation, so I've got to be very careful what I say. Because I wouldn't want to prejudice his day in court. But I don't think he stands alone when it comes to people who, like I said, in politics all over the world, there are the elected individuals who get rolled out in front of the cameras, but there's a whole cohort, there's a cartel of co-conspirators and cronies that exist in the shadows. And I just feel with this particular administration, that's a lot more harrowing. That element is a lot more sophisticated and sinister than previous governments.
Well, I think you only have to look at the way in which so much legislation that nobody voted for, nobody wants, is being sort of, fast-tracked through. Nobody asked for assisted dying. Nobody asked for the health service to be turned into a euthanasia service, and the way that it has been ramrod through. And, you know, we're told that it's a private member's bill, but we all know that it isn't. We all know that it is Keir Starmer who wants this done, and it's being done in the way that it is because he knew if he'd put it to the electorate, he might not have actually been elected. You know, that the way that that's being done is very sinister. The way in which the Chagos Islands continue to be pushed, even as we all sit here knowing there was no binding agreement, there is no strategic reason as to why.
And remind me, Benedict, who was it who was sort of leading that campaign about handing Chagos to Mauritius?
Well, of course, it's one of Keir Starmer's good friends, isn't it? Isn't it Mr. Philip Sands?
This is what I'm talking about. If this was if this was Erdogan and some lawyers around Erdogan coming up with all these things, doing TV trials for social media posts, handing over territory to potentially hostile nations, leading prosecutions against the military, we'd all be like, that guy's a tyrant, isn't he evil? It's our country, and all I see are these gurning morons on channels like Sky who are just like, aren't they so lovely? Aren't they so wonderful?
It must be said that the inability of great swathes of the British media to properly scrutinise the Labour Party for so long, it has been staggering. And actually, the way to see the sort of the volte-face approach of, you know, people like Andrew Marr, who went on Question Time the week of the general election and said everything is going to be great. He even suggested it could be a government of 10 years because he said it's proper people, it's down-to-earth professional people who understand the issues, and everybody around the world is going to be satisfied. The bond markets is all going to be fine. It's all going to be very stable. The way actually that it simply wasn't properly scrutinised, any aspect of this government, and the catastrophe that they have visited upon us. And I have to say this, you know, they are going to try and delay, and they are going to try and frustrate, and, you know, come the next general election, I know that there are a lot of listeners to this show who are reform voters and reform supporters, and there are a lot of people who feel certain that reform are going to win. And I'm sat here telling you right now, I don't think it's a done deal at all. I think every dirty trick in the book is going to be pulled out to try to prevent that from happening. And I think that this is going to be they are going to cling on to power, and it might come in the form of a hung parliament, it might come in the form of a coalition, but they will spin it as fascism, and that's what they're trying to prevent, and all these sorts of things, when in fact theirs is the totalitarian government. And we only have to look at the way in which it's behaving, as you've pointed out, imprisoning people for what they say, you know, just taking unilateral decisions over people's lives. They are the extremists in this situation. It is not a guarantee that they will lose the next general election. There is every chance that actually reform will be hamstrung, and the Tories may well end up having to play a role in that and having to decide what is the better choice. But ultimately also there's a lot that we said here about where reform needs to sit. Reform needs to be sitting looking at the actions of this government, and they need to be saying what things they will reverse on day one, because it's all very well having an insurgent right-wing party saying we're going to stand up to these people, we're going to change things, but unless you actually tell people what it is you're going to change, we could end up in a similar situation to with the Tories. People win, and then they allow themselves to be bogged down by the blob, and then 5 years later, we've got nothing done. You're right.
You know, someone else was talking to me about this just today, actually saying, so if reform got in, do you think they'd scrap digital ID? And I'm like, yes, certain. What do you think they would bring back Rwanda? And I was like, you're right. Actually, it needs to be spelled out that literally in the first 10 days in power, they would get rid of the list. But you are also right that, you know, they've already messed around with the nature of the plebiscites. They've already handed votes to 16-year-olds. They've already done boundary changes. They're cancelling elections. They've already tried to do the demonisation. I remember the whole of it was quite sinister. The whole of the Labour Party conference was people taking it in turns to go up on stage and call Nigel Farage a fascist and dangerous. Then at the same time, they remove his security, his state-funded security. And that was not an accident or a coincidence, I do not believe at all. They will use lawfare against him, against the party. They'll spin a narrative that there's been Russian interference. By gum, reading the reports from the US House Judiciary Committee, when you see how far the EU has gone to prevent populist parties coming into power, and you just think they're all in the same club. Yeah, we're going having fortnightly meetings with the EU now.
Oh, of course, and if anybody's been paying attention to what's going on in Spain at the moment, and, you know, what the government is doing there, where it is going to effectively make what it considers hate speech online completely illegal. Who decides what the hate speech is? It's going to be the left-wing administration in the Spanish government, and I wonder if it's going to have anything to do with its decision to fast-track the process of settled status, their equivalent of settled status, and therefore the fast-track route to citizenship for over 500,000 illegal migrants. That's a large part of why it is. They're making it legal for all of these people who they think are going to come in and vote for them to stay in the country, and then they're going to make it illegal for anybody to criticize it. And the same thing is going to happen here. Starmer is going to hold on for as long as he can. For as long as he can.
Yeah.
And this is also the other thing, because there are lots of people sort of baying for him to go. And of course, we all think he should go. He's rubbish. Whoever replaces him is going to be worse. It's a similar situation as to with the Tories, when everybody's saying Boris Johnson's got to go, got to get rid of him. And far, far too many people failed to recognise what was going to come down the line was not going to improve the situation. The Labour Party is not going to change its spots just because it selects a new leader. And if you look at who's on the front bench, almost every one of them is worse. Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's the point I've been making. Although I do sort of have this feeling that if it was someone like David Lammy or Angela Rayner, the sort of what I would hope would be the inevitable implosion of the Labour Party might be somewhat expedited under the charge of such fools as they. And actually, the quicker they get blown up, the better, because you are absolutely right. You give these charlatans any time whatsoever, and they will be... What they will do is they'll turn and go, well, we're going to hand the vote to everybody who is living here because they all live in this country and it's the right thing to do. You know, they will keep changing that. They will change. They'll move the goalposts. They'll change the plebiscite. They'll try and get Farage bumped off by demonising him constantly. They'll use lawfare against reform. They'll say to everyone it's Russian interference. They will form super coalitions to keep out reform. I mean, you know, they will do anything necessary to stop reform coming to power, and that's frightening. That to me is really frightening. But we've seen what they do, you know, in the clear light of day. And like I said, I'd implore anybody to go and read the House Judiciary report into the EU's manipulation of social media, because they're doing it now. You know, Paris raided the offices of mad socialist Sanchez in Spain. What he's laid out, his 5-point prescription of controlling social media, has got nothing to do with paedophilia, nothing to do with violent depictions of sex in pornography, nothing to do with people selling zombie knives, peddling drugs, encouraging young kids to slice their throats, grooming people to join terrorist organisations. Oh, no, nothing about that. Oh, no, it's all about hate speech. But this is why I'm going to keep saying it, and I've been very critical of reform in the past. You know, it is important for people like me to hold them to a higher standard, and the same actually with the Conservatives. If the Conservatives wish to survive, you need to hold them to a higher standard. You cannot rest on the laurels. You cannot look at the polling and go, oh, well, that's okay, then we just need to see it out. Reform, the Tories, whoever it's going to be, they need to be more than perfect. They need to be absolutely on point on everything. They cannot have any ill discipline. There can be no slips. There can be no mistakes in messaging, mistakes in policy or anything like that. No selecting the wrong candidates for by-elections, anything like that. It has to be whiter than white, because any opportunity to do it either to reform or the Tories will be taken. And again, you know, I will keep on saying the Tories because Kemi Badenoch has in fact been very impressive. She's been rising higher in the polls. She's done quite well. You shouldn't, you know, ignore the fact that the Tories are almost certainly going to play a very important part at the next general election as to whether or not people vote for them or vote for reform, or maybe there may have to be some sort of, I doubt there'll be a coalition, really do doubt that, but some sort of non-aggression pact maybe in some areas. Because this is going to matter, because it's going to be very close. It's not going to be a reform landslide.
I think you are probably right about that, but let's see what holds true in the future. Benedict, thank you so much. Always great catching up with you. And right, let's have a little break now. After the break, we're going to be speaking with Vanessa Frake, former prison governor, who's gone on actually to become an advisor for Reform UK. We're going to be talking about drones delivering drugs and weapons into prisons, which is making organised gangs a heck of a lot of money. How are they getting away with it? Well, we'll be finding out after the break.
Yeah, she has a point. She has a point. We have to do our bit, obviously. Like, we've become very insular as people. We have all this entertainment in our houses now. Like, when I was growing up, you got bored. You got bored and you didn't want to be in the house. You know, you had 5 channels to pick from and that was it. No Deliveroo or anything like that. So we do have to be more mindful and try and make an effort to step out of that. I know it's hard, but I like, for instance, do digital detoxes now and again.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, welcome back. Right, so I was just teasing you before the break about this story. It's astonishing. Let me give you some statistics before we bring in Vanessa Frake. So we're talking about drones delivering drugs and weapons to prisons in a new era. Because essentially some massive organised gangs have managed to, with diligence and practice, basically overcome any protections that prisons are putting in place, and managing to fly everything from drugs, of course, contraband, but also Rambo-style knives and machetes. Not only that, right, so there were 1,712 drone incidents in prisons in England and Wales between April 2024 and March 2025. Drone incidents at prisons were up 1,140% in the last 5 years. What's going on? Well, let's speak to Vanessa Frake, who's a former prison governor, now an advisor to Reform UK. Vanessa, I'll put my hands up. I don't know much about prisons and prison security. I don't know much about drones. What I do have a sort of tiny understanding of is basic physics, which what goes up must come down and must land on a surface. And so what I want to know is, you know, do they have massive windows in prisons where a drone comes along and can deliver a machete and people are like, oh, thanks, yeah, great, I'll take... How, like, I don't understand how these things... I thought prisons had tiny little bars that you couldn't really reach out. How are these... getting in? How is this? I can understand how they might be able to fly over a fence and get into the prison grounds. What I'm struggling to understand is how the prisoners are then on the receiving side of the packages.
Well, good evening, Alex. Yeah, it's a definite conundrum. Look, you know, we've known about drones. The first ones started in about 2015. So we're looking at 10 years of knowing about drones, increasing year on year. And yes, machetes, Rambo-style knives. What's worrying to me is that there'll be a first gun coming. Look, the drones that you're showing now, that is a prison window. You know, they're not dealt to protect. They open out to a certain degree, so the contraband is hanging down on a bit of rope or a bit of string or whatever, and the prisoner just reaches out and grabs it. These aren't amateur drone operators. You know, they are highly trained, highly sophisticated, employed by organised gangs to deliver contraband. And when you think about, you know, a parcel of drugs, mobile phones, maybe even a weapon, is probably worth between 10 and 20,000. A drone, maybe £1,000. You know, if that drone gets lost, but that delivery is made, they're still quids in, and this is the problem. In 2024, in January, the then government, the Conservative government, introduced a 400-metre no-fly zone around our prisons, thinking that that would solve the problem. And very little investment has been made in changing the windows, using AI, using high technology, signal jammers, etc., etc. And that is part of the problem. Many of our Victorian prisons are just not built to combat modern technology.
It's interesting you say that, because I'm sitting there thinking I know nothing about this topic. I would have no idea of what the solution would be, which is what I was going to ask you. But the one thing I was going to ask was this concept of jammers, because I don't really know how they operate, but they are used by the military. And one would imagine if you had signal jammers, it would actually stop all these prisoners being able to use their mobile phones as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, part of that problem is many prisons are in areas that are urban. So you've got all the London jails. Now, those signal jammers can also jam other important signals like Wi-Fi, like police radios, etc., if they're used incorrectly. So it is very difficult to pinpoint exactly where to jam the signals. I'm not a technology expert, but I am aware of the issue. We tried, when I was at Scrubs, we tried to get mobile phone blockers in, and the council objected because surrounding Wormwood Scrubs is the hospital, Hammersmith Hospital next door, and also on the other side was housing. And it is a very difficult minefield to wade through.
Prisons is going to be a very important policy area for any future government, given that we know that around 60-odd thousand prisoners have been released early from prison, which is almost about 2/3 of the entire prison estate. We know there's overcrowding. We know we desperately need new ones. We know there's Islamization going on inside prisons. We know that we need to build a lot more. We know we need to deport foreign criminals. And now we know we've got to sort out this drone situation. You're the person who's tasked with advising Reform UK in this area. What would be your sort of top priorities that you would say, look, you're going to have to put money to one side in the Treasury because these are the things you're going to have to do?
I don't know whether I can pinpoint it down to one point. I think we need to look at, from the beginning, from vetting staff, training staff, supporting staff, making better use of our prisons, making more beds within our prisons. I don't believe that, this ad hoc releasing of prisoners early is good for prisoners, and it's certainly not good for victims of crime and the public. I think when you release prisoners early, you release them into homelessness, no jobs, no resettlement, and all that does is put better criminals back into our communities. It's a huge mammoth job because our prisons have been so neglected, so shortchanged over the last 20 years. It's not going to happen overnight, and not one thing is going to fix the crisis.
Very quickly, a last question to you, because it's something I've thought about on a number of occasions, and you're the perfect person to ask. As a woman, as a former prison governor, I've been questioning whether it was a sensible choice to put women working in some of these men's prisons, because I seem to open the newspaper and on a regular basis see some false eyelashed OnlyFans-esque dolly bird who's had an affair with an inmate. And I'm like, OK, first of all, I wonder whether a sort of, slight female physically has a capacity to be able to maintain control of a situation inside a men's prison. But then I look at some of these women and I'm like, you seem like you're dressed up to do some sort of, 0800 will probably, I don't know what the number would be, the prefix, but some sort of high-cost late-night phone line, not to go and sort of whip into shape a load of sexually starved men who are incarcerated. I mean, do you know what I'm talking about? I just think there's some fundamental problem going on right now with some of the women working in male prisons.
Look, part of the issue, and I've just mentioned it, is vetting. And I think that when you farm out vetting to a private contractor in Wales for the whole of the National Prison Service, that a governor has no autonomy as to who walks through his or her door, I think you are going to have problems. When you have the fact that a person can apply to join the prison service at age 17 and start on their 18th birthday, we are putting vulnerable, inexperienced people in highly dangerous positions. And I think you are asking for trouble then. I do believe that women should work in male jails. There are amazing women who don't, have illicit relations with prisoners that I have had the pleasure to work with for years. And I think that women bring a calming influence into a male dominated jail. But there is issues with supporting staff and vetting staff and discipline within that staff.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like in an organised, regulated environment, a bit like at school, I'm a huge supporter of school uniforms. You know, other countries don't have them. I think they're very important to sort of set an atmospheric sense of hierarchy and authority. And I don't know, if I was running a prison and a girl came in who works on the in the, what do you call them, in the wards, in the wings, with, false nails, long eyelashes, a really tight little blouse, I'd be like, you're going home, love. You do not look dressed for the job today. I don't know. Some of this stuff is, to me, is sort of basic, and I don't understand every time I open the newspaper and see, the next OnlyFans model having it off with a male inmate, how that's been able to happen.
You can ask how Peter Mandelson got through a DV vetting to become the ambassador of the United States. It's the same thing. How did she get through vetting when we know she was on some Channel 4 sex program? And as you said, she was on OnlyFans social media. To me, that would have been a straight no straight away.
Yeah. Vanessa, it's always great speaking to you. Thank you ever so much for your wisdom, your experience and your candour. Now, here's a good old story. Apparently Nike, I don't know, are you Nike or are you Nike? I've never decided which one you're supposed to say, is under investigation by the US government. Get in, US government. I love the fact they're like all over this stuff. Over claims the footwear giant discriminated against white workers. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which enforces workplace discrimination laws, announced on Wednesday it has demanded company records going back to 2018, including the use of race and ethnicity data, and whether such information influenced executive pay. I cannot wait for that to happen in the United Kingdom. And all of a sudden, all these job adverts used by, the big banks, used by the BBC, saying, this application is open to people from, black, Asian and minority ethnic backgrounds, open to people with disabilities, open to people with, basically, don't apply if you're white. It's what a lot of these adverts say now. I'm sorry, it is racial discrimination. We're going to be discussing that with the brilliant Sunil Sharma, political commentator and host of the Rational Voices with Sunil podcast just after this.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, welcome back. I've got a confession to make before we go any further. Look, I'm from Gloucester. When you're from Gloucester, you're forced to like rugby from a young age. And frankly, it's not that difficult to do, is it? It's a brilliant sport. It's one of the best in the world. I love it. And of course, it is the start of the Six Nations tonight. So I just said, look, can you just stick it on one of the TVs so at the corner of my eye I can occasionally glance up and see what's going on? Then I realised I needed my glasses to be able to do that, which I thought I'd skillfully brought in. But I didn't, did I? No. Instead, I bought my... no, not these! Oh, blimmin' heck! So I was going to say... No, the other glasses. This is... I've become like the glasses queen. So I bought these, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to get away with that, am I? And so I just said to Matt, can you bring my other glasses in? So he's brought my other glasses in. So blimmin' these! I look like Stevie Wonder. No, I have got actual glasses, which are not prescription sunglasses. I don't know why I'm carrying them all around with me, like I'm Specsavers on legs. But there you go. Right, I've been told off by Dean to get on with it. All right, let's bring in Sunil Sharma, political commentator and host of Rational Voices with Sunil podcast. Sunil, good. I'm glad to see this stuff happening. America's really leading the way with reversing and unwinding some of this utterly egregious DEI nonsense, which, frankly, is just racism against white people for the most part.
Well, 100%. You know, you just imagine if we switched the roles here, where we said, whether it's Nike or any corporation said that we're not going to employ any black or brown people, and the people we're going to fire are black and brown people or Asians, whatever. What would everyone say? Everyone would say, rightly so, this is discrimination and this is racism. But it seems like for the last maybe 10 or so years, white people are the only race where racism doesn't matter. To me, this is quite clear. This is racism. We are discriminating against a group of people. And those people of color, those people who are not white, how demoralizing and degrading does it feel that you are getting jobs or you are getting a leg up on the basis of your skin color? If somebody offers that to me, or I'm pretty sure to majority of people who are not white, that you're going to get a job, and one of the reasons you're getting the job is because of your skin color, immediately, surely the reaction is, what? Am I not good enough on the basis of my merit, on the basis of my skill and talent? I think it's really, really sad, and I'm so glad that the US are leading the way in terms of this investigation with Nike, as I'm sure, well, we know for a fact that this has happened across so many other corporations. It's good that it's been highlighted with Nike.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the fact that I agree it totally undermines meritocracy and somebody's, rights to be where they are in life because they've got the natural talent, because they've put in the hours and the effort. It's grotesquely unfair against young white people because they didn't choose the colour of the skin they're born in to be told your CV goes to the back of the queue, or even you've spent hours and hours working your CV, getting the experience, applying for a job, and it won't even be looked at. It'll be filtered out straight away. That is cruel. That is nasty. That is, frankly, racism at its worst. But also, all this DEI stuff, to me, has created an underbelly of simmering resentment. It actually creates racism. To use one of the left-wing's favourite word, fosters. It doesn't foster a sense of inclusion. It fosters a sense of pitting people against one another based upon the colour of their external bodily package.
Definitely. I mean, it's all this constant obsession of talking about race is only going to increase more racism. The majority of people don't care. No one cares. We're at a stage across the West and no one cares about skin color. They just are obsessed with ramming this down people's throats. The majority of people don't care. And I think what's interesting, I was talking to somebody about this earlier, but with Nike, and people are saying, well, you need to look at study Nike's history. Maybe they've done some bad things in the past. And to me, it's well, Nike's biggest investment and Nike's reason for success is on a black basketball player, and the reason that it was being so successful is because he was the greatest basketball player of all time. Nothing to do with his skin color, just because he was extremely talented at sports. So the idea Nike are now using, trying to start this DEI nonsense makes no sense. They picked on merit in the first place to get to their success. Now they have no history of discrimination on my book, when considering their company is built on a black basketball player. That's the reason why Nike are where they are right now. So this idea now, they need to compensate say, it's embarrassing. And I think it's a wider problem that America faces, Britain faces, where this constant, it's damaging white people's confidence. You look at white people across the UK right now that are worst performing when it comes to education, in particular white boys. You see the standard of their education. Numeracy literacy rates are declining every single year. They make up majority of the workforce in this country. It doesn't matter what skin color you are in the UK. That is terrible news, because if you own a business, most likely coming up in these next few decades, your employees are not going to be as qualified as they should be. It's horrible news, but it will never get the attention it deserves, because we're obsessed with talking about minorities when we know for a fact that in 2026 we don't have this problem.
But the thing is, as Newton once said, every force has an equal and opposite force, or was it Einstein? I don't know. But this is exactly the problem. The more they push this sort of inclusion, this diversity, this, let's talk about race all the time, the more it is actually creating the backlash. Because I've noticed there are people now who I hear saying things that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's actually going too far. This is now some sort of mad overcorrection coming from the right in response to some of this stuff. Never before did I think we'd sit there and have like people actually advocating ethno-nationalism, for example. Oh, you can't be English if X, Y, and Z. English is an ethnicity. I just think this is such a dangerous route to go down, while actually at the same time being the biggest proponent of closing the blimmin' borders and actually having a more discerning and discriminatory immigration system. Scrapping all this DEI nonsense, because if we don't do this, we are creating, on the other side of things, we are creating a kernel of truly far-right people, and I don't want to see that either.
Definitely. And I mean, the problem is when the media, when institutions, when we have this logical discussion that we're having right now, and we're labeled, or you'd be labeled racist and I'd be labeled far right, then sooner or later it will grow frustrations amongst people. And this is how you get the ethno-nationalists to continue to rise and rise, because we can't even have a discussion about it. And if you do have a discussion about it, then it turns into something that it shouldn't be. And I think that's the harsh reality. I think ethno-nationalism maybe is a problem in the UK, but I don't think it's nowhere near as big problem as mass migration is. It's nowhere near as big problem as a DI situation is in the UK. And I think these are much bigger concerns. But if you're not going to allow people to even have an open conversation about it, and you're just going to label people off the bat as racist and far right, then guess what? They may actually become racist and far right sooner or later. So I think you've got to at least enable the discussion. What Nike have done and what corporations like Nike have been doing over the last decade, it's embarrassing. And I think a lot of people of non-white color would agree. And I think the people who are pushing this are a lot of people, is the victim culture within non-white people, and within white people. I think it's virtue signaling these people. Look at me, I'm being such a good person, I'm promoting DEI, blah blah blah. No one cares apart from a very, very small percentage of people in power, these elites who have no actual grasp of what real life problems are. The vast majority of people, I guarantee, in the United States of America and the UK don't care. They just want the best person for the best job. It's as simple as that. And I think hiring anyone on merit is wrong, and hiring anyone on the basis of color is wrong. Hiring on merit is the right thing to do. And I think it's a really dangerous slippery slope what a lot of companies like Nike have done.
I totally agree. Sunil, it's been a real pleasure having you on tonight. Thank you ever so much for your time and your wisdom. Right, now, after the break, it's your turn to get involved. We haven't done any calls yet, so perhaps now is the moment before we begin Weird Hour. 03444991000 is the number to dial. The lovely Matt is waiting to take your call. It's your normal network rate. You can use that number to send me a WhatsApp message. I'll be reading more of those as well after the break. 8722 is the number if you'd rather send me a text, like talk before your message. That's also your standard cash money, i.e. we're not really charging you for it. It's just your network charging you your normal amount. Okay. We are going to have a little reprieve right now, but go pour yourself the three-fingered gin, and I'll see you just after this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, welcome back. It is time to do calls, it's time to do messages. Let's quickly do some messages first. Hi Alex, I'm 63 and I've always paid my tax, always worked and always done the right thing. I'm welling up listening to you and I'm with you. Yeah. Philip could be speaking for me here, so on the money. Philip Kisserly. That was a while ago. Blimey, that message's been sitting around in my in-tray for a while. Alex Phillips, you are a legend. Oh, thanks. You've hit the nail on the head. What passion. You choked me up, Mark in Bushy. Well, it's all right. You're OK now, aren't you? Because you've got a stiff one. Keep up the brilliant work. Roy, thank you. Well done. Oh, these are... Wow, nice messages tonight. Very nice messages tonight. Alex, I'm 100% behind you. I feel your anger. You have every right to be furious. I'm a lot older than you and I feel so sorry for the younger British generation. Mark in Coventry. Yeah, exactly. Mind-blowing truth. I cannot see any other course of action but civil protest, says David. I am not going to advocate that because then I really will get myself into hot water. Where do we start trying to make any sense of this country? The problem is you have to live in such cognitive dissonance, ontological discord, that if you try to make sense of it, you actually make yourself ill. Right, let's do some calls. It's a new caller. I love a new caller. Andre from Brighton. Hi, Andre.
Oh, good evening, Alex.
Hello, I love it, I love it, I love it. Your first time calling, that's wonderful news. Right, what is on your mind?
I just want to quote what Cicero is supposed to have said. He said that, I think he said a nation or a city can survive many things, but it's the traitors within who are the biggest danger. You can see the enemy outside the gate, they're visible, but it's the traitors who dwell among us inside. They are the biggest enemy because we can't see them. Now, when you look at Britain today, there's so many traitors in government, civil service, universities, schools. They're everywhere. And there's so many of them, it's very difficult to sort of eradicate them, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of people who have essentially been brainwashed by the woke ideology who get to senior positions, and for a couple of reasons. Number one is if you're in a big corporate company now, or if you're in anything that's taxpayer funded, any form of the state apparatus, you have to do all the DEI training, you have to wear the rainbow lanyard. It starts off with, well, you know, this is how you lift a heavy box from the floor, bending at the knee so you don't hurt your spine, because we don't want you to, you know, sue us for injuries in the workplace. Then it's this is how you're aware of your white privilege. Then it's this is how, you know, you've got to all have pronouns. And in order to climb up the ladder, you've got to go through all of these processes, these assessments. And so people have had to adopt them. And some people must be adopting them begrudgingly, saying it and doing it because they want to keep their jobs. Other people, I think, have just absorbed it like sponges and have got to this stage. They actually believe this rot.
This disease has spread very widespread because when I talk to ordinary people, they're not working in local government or anything. They're just on the street doing their shopping. If I mention anything to do with illegal immigrants crossing, they just say, go away, you're a racist, I don't want to talk to you. They don't even know who I am.
Well, you do live in Brighton, my dear. You might want to move a little bit further west down that coastline and you might find some like-mindeds. How is it in Brighton being a right-winger down in those parts? I love Brighton, by the way. This isn't sort of being disparaging about Brighton. I think it's a great little place.
This moment, you don't have to be a right-winger to object to having your country invaded by foreign criminals who rape and murder your people. That's not right-wing. That's just normal, isn't it?
You know, exactly. No, it's not normal. It's not right-wing. It's far-right, Andre. It's fascistic. You must be some sort of Heil Hitlering neo-Nazi who goose-steps and has a tiny little tash. No, it's...
the country is.
But also, I love the fact we started this off, narrative arc, we started this off with you quoting Cicero. And if anybody wants to learn a lesson of history, it might be worthwhile looking at what led to the collapse of one of the greatest European empires ever, the Roman Empire. Because it was a lot to do with having their empire expand so far and being flooded with so many different heterogeneous people from all these different cultures that the centre would no longer hold. History tells the story. Andre, thank you ever so much. Your very first time calling Talk. I feel so privileged to have taken that call, and keep that up, please. If you've not called in before, please do. It's nice getting fresh voices. Oh, I love my regulars. Don't you worry, I love my regulars. When their names pop up, I'm like, oh, it's Herbie and it's Grace, you know, Georgina. But it's always good having a brand new person to chit-chat to. Let's speak now to Richard in London. Hi, Richard.
Hi, Alex. Yeah, and of course, great to hear your passion. And of course, the trouble is, it is easy to think that it's almost hopeless. But if we just almost kind of step back, if you look at it, one thing that I was looking at earlier, if you look at the population of the world, there's about 4/5 of the world, about 82% of the world, and we're talking about really Asia, Africa, and South America. That's roughly 6.5 billion people. Now, if you look at the West, obviously, which is America, which is Europe, and what you might call Oceania, sort of Australia, that's about 1.5 billion people. Now, if you look at it, only 20% of the world has got this woke mind virus. In China, in India, in most of the world, people are free to say, well, actually, someone in China is free to say, well, I'm Chinese, I prefer Chinese to other people. And actually, Alex, even if they say, well, I prefer yellow people to other people, they're free to do that. It's only effectively in about 20% of the world population, really the West, where there is this woke mind virus. I mean, I think it's important to actually just put that into context, because if you look at what's been happening in Britain and America, it's fairly clear there's a parallel. The Labour Party, as soon as it got in 1948 or 1945, passed the Commonwealth Act, which allowed access to, basically invited 1/4 of the world's population to come and stay here. This party has been trying to change Britain for nearly 80 years. And of course, and if you look at the parallel with the States, now, I think Donald Trump has been able to say, look, America is going the same way as Britain and France. We are being changed from within. The Democrats are effectively using immigration to change our society. And he's basically, in a way, Alex, you can see, I mean, it's not the easiest parallels, but you can actually see a parallel between a famous politician in the 1960s, who I won't name, who said, look, we're being changed against our will.
I think his name was probably Enoch Powell.
Yeah, yes. He failed. But if you look at the politician across the water, he's saying we're being changed. You don't have to be changed. We can do something about it. And he's succeeding. I'm not saying it's easy, but
this is the thing. You know, we haven't got long left, Richard, but listening to what you say, the difficulty is the deeper they dig down in all this DEI stuff, the more radical the response is going to have to be. You know, the sort of more ghoulish the correction. And that is what I find so awful, because it's going to get to the stage that actually responding to this stuff, trying to sort of bring us back onto an even keel, is going to now take drastic politics. And I don't think the Brits really want to see that either. But, you know, I don't know where we go from here. Richard, thank you ever so much for your call, my darling. Right, OK, keep your thoughts coming in. And also, go pour yourself a well-deserved cocktail or a nice pint of stout or whatever it is that tickles your fancy, because after the break is the beginning of Weird Hour. But before that, we're joined by the amazing Graham Linehan, who's been over testifying in America.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, welcome back. Welcome to Weird Hour. Although we are going to start off, well, with a little bit of a spring in our step. We're going to try and laugh our way through all the pain and the misery and the dystopia. But then after that, we got old Samara Gillen, and it's just going to get, super unhinged, because we need to, when the world is as depressing as it is, you've got to lighten it. It's getting towards bedtime. I don't want to give you nightmares. I want to put a nice smile on your face before you roll over and have your sleep, and I don't mean like that. Maybe I should take off these glasses. They're a bit too titillating. Before we get into the madness and the mayhem, we're going to talk about real-life madness and mayhem taking place in the United Kingdom being analysed over in America. I was talking earlier that I wrote a Substack yesterday because this incredible report dropped, to use one of America's favourite terms, from the House Judiciary GOP. They basically asked Big Tech to start reporting in February 2025 about the way that it is being potentially manipulated and controlled, particularly by Europe. So they've been collating all of this data, and they finally launched their report a couple of days ago. And just reading some of these things, so here we go. I've literally got the post. If you go on their social media accounts, House Judiciary GOP, which is at Judiciary GOP, they've got it all there, and they've actually got screen grabs, evidence, the rest of it. So it began as early as 2015, when the EU Commission created codes and forums through which it could pressure platforms to censor speech more aggressively. These censorship codes and forums were supposed to be voluntary and operate on consensus. But from the very beginning, the Commission used them to pressure platforms to censor political speech and other legal content. And I quote, "Thousands of internal big tech documents and communications with European regulators released for the first time paint a clear picture." This isn't my words. These are the words of the House Judiciary Committee in America. "Europe has led a successful decade-long campaign to achieve global online narrative control." Now, the French have just raided the offices of X. We've had Mad Sanchez in Spain put together his 5-point way of controlling social media. But the more you read some of these reports, it is actually really quite terrifying. Here's one. It is a nice little email from Europe. It's redacted, but it's at ec.europa.eu, EC being the European Commission. So it's someone who works for the Politburo. "How are you? Nice to see you today at the meeting. I just have a quick question. I see that some platforms are putting in place measures to fight disinformation about the COVID-19 vaccination campaign for children. Would you have some heads up if TikTok is planning to do the same?" Oh, that sounds nice, does it? No. We shouldn't have been vaccinating the kids. It is mad. And the more you read about this, again, I quote, "It turns out," and this is House Judiciary verbatim, "it turns out interfering with elections is standard fare for the European Commission. Ahead of at least 8 elections across 6 European countries since 2023, the Commission met with platforms to pressure them to censor political speech in the days before the vote." I mean, that is horrifying. But the worst part of it all is that they cancelled the result of the Romanian elections that were won by Georgescu, the wrong candidate, saying that Russia interfered with campaigns on social media. TikTok told the European Commission it found no evidence of a coordinated Russian campaign to boost the winning candidate, Kalin Georgescu. In fact, the alleged Russian TikTok campaign was actually funded by another Romanian political party, which leads me to question, did the EU tell another party to promote Georgescu in order to sell the line he had been artificially boosted by Russia? They're scary folks over there in Brussels. Anyway, the brilliant Graham Linehan was summoned to said committee to talk about the fact that he was arrested, basically at gunpoint by armed officers getting off a plane in London after flying back from America for a very casual throwaway joke of a comment that he'd put online that clearly was tongue-in-cheek. Let's have him on. Let's talk to the man in question. Graham, it is brilliant to have you on the programme. A real honour and a privilege. I'm a great fan of not just the work you do right now, defending free speech and women's safety, but also your brilliant written work, which kept me hugely entertained in my teenage years as well on television. Tell me about testifying before US Congress. What are they doing? What did they ask you?
Well, they've been collecting examples from across Europe of people who've been mistreated by often liberal left governments for telling the truth, essentially. You know, like the British police have been harassing me for 10 years, or almost 10 years, since I started talking about this issue. They work as a kind of private security team for a very small group of coordinated activists. And it's things like this. The person who was with me was a Finnish politician who got into trouble for sharing a Bible verse, you know. So, like, I mean, it's gone from when we wrote Father Ted, we were poking fun at the sort of the version of religion that was sometimes exaggerated and sometimes not. But basically, we used all the cliches about religion to tell these stories, and now the left just seems to have become a religion of its own, and it's not just it's you know, Catholic priests would just complain and write a letter to the Irish Times, but these governments have the power to actually hurt people, you know. So I think what the US are very worried about at the moment is they're worried about Europe. I think in a recent national security document, they spoke about downgrading the whole of Europe into a troubled area, something like that, or a troubled zone.
Wow.
Yeah. yeah. And I think that one of the things that the Americans see is that the public are being kind of arrested, hounded. In my case, my reputation was destroyed for simply pointing out things that are true. And the more that I mean, I'll give you a very good example. Have I got news for you? How long has that been running? 20 years? Something like 25
ages.
years?
8, probably longer.
Yeah. For 10 years, they've ignored this issue because they're so frightened of touching it. So that's a satire show that cannot speak about an issue. And the thing about satire, what it's supposed to be for, it's a sort of escape valve. It's a release so that we can, you know, sit around and joke about our crazy situation. But Ian Hislop and Paul Merton are sort of betraying betraying satire in the sense that they've found an issue that they simply will not talk about. And the problem with that is that people get more and more frustrated when the version of life they see on television, on the news and on satire shows and all the rest of it does not match what they see on the streets, what they're experiencing every day. And there were recently riots in Ireland. I've never seen a riot in Dublin in my life, you know, and it's simply because the immigration problem in Ireland has become so insane that, you know, it's leading to all these explosions of violence or upset. And if that continues on with the British government and press and the sort of what you might call the cultural elite pretending the world is different from it is behind their gated communities, then, yeah, I mean, you might see Europe get into a very chaotic state.
Well, this is it. I mean, I think that America sees this coming. I think we see it coming. There's a brilliant professor of war studies called Professor David Betts, who's Canadian by birth, but lives over here. And has done various interviews talking about how he sees civil war approaching. And it's not a matter of when, it's more a matter of where. Which country is going to go up first? Where are the biggest riots going to take place? Because it will, I think, catch on like a fast metastasizing cancer. And what you're saying is, you know, for a long time. We've known since the ancient Greeks that catharsis is so important, to laugh together, to cry together, to poke fun, to commiserate together, to let that out, to let those emotions out, because you sort of pack them all in. If you oppress a people, you're going to send them mentally ill. And that is what's happening widely across the West. And America's watching. I want to know the sort of things that Americans were saying to you, because I've spoken about this quite a lot, and I don't think America's going to just sit back with folded hands quietly and peaceably watching the unravelling of Europe. It's quite clear they're evidence gathering and that they are planning to act. And so, having been in the belly of the beast, going over there and speaking to members of Congress, what sort of things were they saying to you?
Well, a lot of it was more, I got the overall impression of a great sadness, because these people love Europe. There's lots of Irish American congressmen, and they hate the idea of seeing Ireland go down this road. But I think they're quite, because they're in power, because there's a lot of confidence, because yesterday what we were talking about, in my case, was an 80-20 issue. They feel very confident about pressing this. And I think they are now talking about arresting people who censor speech in Europe. I can't remember what they're doing, but I can't remember what the word is, but they're talking about fly bans or something like that, So they're very serious about it, and they do like Europe. They're not doing it out of a hatred of Europe. They want the countries to flourish.
The concerns I have is, you're right, they've already made moves. They've already said, listen, if you try and shut down, because a lot of these European recommendations that come out of the Digital Services Act are applied to a platform globally. So it actually ends up censoring the Americans as well, or anyone using these platforms abroad. And they've already turned around and said, right, we're going to put flight bans against people like Thierry Breton, who was the EU Commission's information commissar. But the thing is, it seems to me that the left wing of Europe is retaliating, and in typical fashion, because I know that EU overly well. I know exactly what it's like. I know the application of things like the cordon sanitaire, the way they stitch things up, the smoke and mirrors of a fake news parliament that has no democratic legitimacy, no power, no voice, is just there to gaslight people into them thinking that they voted for something and have some sort of accountability. But I know how they operate, and what is alarming me is it seems that Europe are not just going to go, OK, America's going to potentially threaten us with tariffs or put these flight bans on. They're getting together and they're coming back with even more fire and fury. When I look at the sort of things Pedro Sanchez wants to recommend, and I know that this mad government, who went down the same route of, well, people are putting like kids in bikinis on Grok, therefore we've got to ban X, which doesn't even make sense. I know that this government are waiting to do exactly the same, to imitate some of these radicals. And so I can't see this problem in any way being corrected or improved.
Yeah, I mean, their best kind of attempt to keep us all under control was non-crime hate incidents, and now that they are becoming a little bit too embarrassing to the government, they're being removed. But now, they will go straight to the source. I mean, all of this is just they're new, they're kind of current governments, but they're in an old way of thinking. They do not understand that the internet provides us with opportunities to get together and talk to each other and come up with good solutions. All they're worried about is their politicians being able to lie to us, and I think one of the reasons that Keir Starmer especially would hate X is because everything he says is followed by a community note. Because politicians, they don't get to do what they used to be able to do, which is, sort of tell half the story, They don't get to be able to do that, and that's why they love censorship. Yesterday, the Democrats at Congress, they just tried to derail the meeting by talking about Minneapolis and ICE. And I've never seen anything so extraordinary. They basically spoke, every time they spoke, they told exactly half the story. They told the story of these arrests, of people getting hurt, of the recent deaths of Rene Good and things like that. But they didn't tell the other side of the story, the fact that these cops are being deliberately antagonized by the kind of people who have been harassing women at their events for the last 10 years, you know? And so that's what social media gives us. It gives us the whole picture. So politicians, they have less and less wriggle room. They have to tell us the truth. And unfortunately, we have these governments that are stuck in the old ways of thinking. And we need someone to come along and just explode all that, you know? We've had too many years of weak governments, weak men.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. It's the problem is we have some fairly weak governments, but we've got a very strong, determined, quite sinister and cannily operating supranational entity over in Brussels, and some pretty scary people operating the political shadows here. When I was at university, I was so full of optimism. At the beginning of this millennia, I was so full of optimism about what was coming down the line, thinking that, you know, we really were living in brilliant, privileged times with the advancement of technology. Everything seemed so fun, so positive. I had no idea in 2025 I'd be sitting in a studio talking about the United Kingdom as if I am describing a foreign, oppressive, tyrannical regime. I did not see this coming. Did you?
No, I would have made better plans. I didn't see it coming at all. I didn't see my friends all kind of betraying me and not sticking up for me. I didn't see any of this. It's all come as a complete shock. And what these people what a lot of people don't realize is that they're being influenced by the internet. The people who say that trans women are women, or the people who swore blind that children weren't being operated on, these are just like memes that have been going around the internet, and everybody picked up on them, and they became part of government policy. I mean, can you think of anything more sadistic and barbaric than putting men in women's prisons? It is the most extraordinary situation that's happening. And again, it's very hard to speak about this because the government has been looking the other way while people have had their reputations destroyed for standing up to things like this. So the fact that the world has gone so mad and not realized it means we have to get people who understand the modern age into power. You know, and we have a few politicians around the world who do understand the modern age, and they're hated for it as well.
It's true. But that's it. When you see how people are brainwashed now into thinking that surgically operating on children, that you have convinced these poor wee things, you've convinced them that they're in the wrong body, which is evil itself, to do that to a child, to say to a child, oh, do you think you're actually a girl? Do you think you're actually a boy? That to me is abusive. But then to pursue a medical course of treatment, it's a bit like the blimmin' Victorians, giving people electric shock therapy and giving them lobotomies because they got PTSD. It is a wickedness. And hasn't now there been the first successful case in America of some young person who went through a mastectomy, turning around and suing the doctors and the government millions of dollars for what the courts have decided was abuse against her. And I just think this is going to happen here. In 10 years' time, it'll be like the infected blood scandal. There'll be case after case after case of people suing the government, because it won't be the individual medics, it won't be the teachers, it won't be the social workers, it won't be the charities like Mermaids, it'll be the government, which means we, the taxpayers, who never went along with it, will be the ones paying the bill.
Yeah, very, very good point. Very good point. And, I don't know. I don't have anything to add, really. I think that's it. We get punished for telling the truth, and then when when we're exonerated, we get charged. I mean, it's just an extraordinary situation. The good thing, though, about that deal, or the woman suing for the $2 million, And in the next week, the Society of Plastic Surgeons said that we shouldn't be doing these operations on children. And also what's great about it is that this lie that trans activists just kept repeating, oh, this isn't happening to children. Well, this girl was 14. More stories are popping up all the time, and soon they're not going to be able to deny it. And I think that, I think one of the things you'll see now is a lot of people saying they didn't believe it. They were never.
Exactly. All these people be, I never went along with that. I always knew this was a bad idea. Same people. The minute that the Nazi regime fall, you could never find a Nazi supporter in Germany anymore. Graham, could I just say, on behalf of all of us, thank you for all that you do. I mean, horrors were visited upon you. I don't think you had much choice but to fight back, but you continue to fight. And flying over America and testifying before the US Congress, you've done it on behalf of 500 million people in Europe. And that is, you should be so proud of yourself, because we are so grateful for you.
Thank you, Alex. That's really nice of you to say. I'm sorry, my thoughts are a bit scattered today because I just got off the plane. So let's do this again sometime, and you'll get me more compos mentis.
Oh no, you were brilliant as always. And you know what? When I get home tonight in the wee small hours, I might actually watch Father Ted, because it's honestly my favourite programme growing up, and I love it so much. Kicking Bishop Brennan up the. Yeah.
Please, if you like my stuff, and watch Count Arthur Strong. No one has seen it. It's like, it was my last show. There were 3 seasons.
Yeah.
No one watched it because the BBC didn't know how to promote it. And it's just as good as anything I did.
I love that. Fresh Linehan material. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. You might only be able to get it on DVD or something, but it's really, really good.
Oh, some dark corner of the interweb will have that. I'll find a way to dig it out. I'll get my people on it. Graham, thank you ever so much. You have given so much to this world. You've given your incredible humour, your wit, your wisdom, your kindness, and now your bravery. And we appreciate you so much. The fantastic Graham Linehan, ladies and gentlemen. It is a really important story. Of course, nobody else talking about it. Of course they aren't. Oh, blimmin' heck, France are really kicking Ireland's backsides. Right, after the break, Stand Up to Racism in Lewis is holding a Welcome Hearts for Refugees workshop this Saturday. Woohoo! Where you can decorate a heart, which will then be sent to people seeking asylum arriving in Crowborough. Yep, you heard that right. Brace yourselves, pour a really big drink, because Samara's going to be in here in any moment. I can't wait to see her. You can't wait to see her. It's going to be glorious for the last 35 minutes. So, yeah, I look forward to it. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That
Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beard, and I feel
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of its desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, look who is here. I'm going to put my glasses on. I just noticed I've got some soy sauce or something. I'm literally like a giant toddler sometimes. I'm like, how did that get there?
No,
anyway, it's the brilliant
framing myself. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me on, Alex.
Yeah,
what a great show.
Well, you've got to do this every Thursday. As long as I'm in here, you're in here.
Well, thank you. You just had the legend on, though. I don't know how I can follow that out.
Also,
Graham Linehan.
The amount of viewers who've messaged asking about our night out, because I told the tale of your sink.
Nothing is sacred. Nothing is sacred.
I told the tale of your sink.
Oh my God, did you?
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
And I'm still quite amazed that I must have had enough to drink that I'd sort of gone elbow deep in it, whirling it around.
Yeah, but that's you. I think you'd do that sober, knowing you. You'd be fine.
Just a warrior. Defending my girl Samara's domestic integrity.
Yeah, I know. God knows I wouldn't be doing that. That's for sure. You're like a real one. I'm just sort of like this little, like, puncy person.
I never used to be a real one, but you get past the age of 40 and you just suddenly, it's a F it o'clock.
Yeah, I can't wait.
You're just like, I don't care anymore.
I can't wait. I overthink everything still. What can I do? I guess it's just...
No, just get gnarly. Get older and get gnarly, or you'll happen at an accelerated pace in the UK. Don't you worry about that. I mean, is the weather helping?
Is the weather helping? No. I would like a one-way ticket back to Australia. Everyone talks about remigration. Can you remigrate me back to Australia, please?
Can I come with you? I thought you say that Australia was like woker than here, though.
We're having a real shift. It's going... Pauline Hanson, she's the leader of One Nation. She's the Nigel Farage of Australia, and not that our audience really cares, but we're basically going in the same direction as you guys. It's what does the audience call it? The Overton window. It's shifting. It really is. So it's exciting to see over in Australia.
Does Australia still do that little points-based system for certain professions?
Yes, they do.
Presenter on it.
They do. Well, I actually like the points-based system. I think it's good. We need something like that over here.
I'm going to sound like someone come from Bangladesh now, because I would want to take my parents with me. You know, they're getting on in years. I don't want to be the other side of the world.
I don't blame the Bangladeshis. I mean, yeah, if they want the whole family to come over.
Why not? Yeah, can I bring my mum, my dad, my cat? I suppose we could potentially bring Dean.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Dean, yeah.
No, we're not.
Dean's a divisive character.
Dean's a divisive character. I love that. Dean's probably one of the most well-loved people.
Yeah, I know.
on
That's
earth.
why I love describing him like that.
He's a divisive character.
Yeah,
Dean.
he really is.
He's such a nice creature. Now, this doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Stand up to racism. Who funds you? You know, a favourite line of the left wing. But all these NGOs, I want to know who funds them, genuinely. But this is sick, man. Holding a workshop where you can decorate a heart to be sent to people living in Crowber. You know there's going to be all the yummy mummy woke women over there in Lewis, because you get a lot down in that Sussex way, especially the smarter ends of it. They'll be bringing their kids to do this, and then you're going to have some roomy-eyed, you know, international, tenacious, you know, dealt with all the criminal underworld, working on the black market, shot someone in the face back home at Sudan, going, oh, this is nice, thanks. Like, what? Why?
Yeah, I don't think they get it. I mean, genuinely, I've spent a lot of time down in Crowborough, especially since they moved those 27 men in the middle of the night into that army base and totally sort of pulled the the tablecloth out from under that city. It's genuinely been in mayhem since then. And even when I went on the protests, I saw that, you're right, there are a lot of sort of pearl-clutching posh types that were in Crowborough that you could see. They actually were...
on the other side, the stand up to racism side, you
No,
mean?
well, they were on the marches, but you could see that they had been almost pushed to a level that they didn't even want to be at. You know, that's when you can really see the cracks.
When it's suddenly
yeah, because I've been in West Drayton, you know, Hillingdon area, that's very working class. Usually the Labour government and other governments love to dump illegal migrants into working class areas because they know that they're not going to complain as much and the outcry isn't going to be as much. But you're right, in East Sussex, it's a big problem. But this is the other side of it. This is the let's make sure they're welcome because of all the protests that are going on. I mean, the reality is that it's costing them.
It's like, actually, you're not welcome.
No.
By the way, you're not.
Well, apparently that's extremely racist sentiment, and, you know, we're not allowed to say that we don't want a bunch of unchecked men in our town. I agree with you. It's a liberal area, and I'm not surprised to see this initiative, but it's not right. I mean, is someone going to get their child to draw a love heart for a young male? It was 27 young single male migrants that were moved in.
But
That was what was
from,
used.
like, I don't know, Sudan, where everyone's being stabbed in the face and raped, and you know, you've got sort of maybe you've got PTSD, maybe you've been brought up in violence and have violent urges, but likely if you're a young undocumented man of a certain age, you're probably going to have certain sexual urges. You don't understand this culture, you probably don't understand the language, and then you start getting love letters through the post. That's not going to dampen down the sort of rape thing going on, is it?
I mean, I don't know if it would particularly encourage any rapes or sexual assaults, but I don't think it's right to say, oh, let's go and totally incorporate these people into our community, because what type of message does it send? It sends a message that they're there potentially permanently. Like, are they wanting to integrate them? I thought this was meant to, well, exactly. I thought this was meant to be a halfway house for them. That's what Shabana Mahmood is saying. That's the whole initiative.
The weird thing is, if these were genuine refugees, like when the Ukrainians came, and we knew, oh wow, your country is being bombed to smithereens, and you've come to near neighbouring countries on the same continent, right? That we all just went, we'd do anything for you guys. You know, we'll drive trucks over there ourselves, we'll deliver your aid, come.
It's the British
your
way.
Spare bedroom is, our spare bedroom's your room now. Fine. But you know, if these were genuine refugees, we'd all be there happily writing the love letters, you know? We'd all be doing it. I'd be the first one baking cakes.
Totally.
Actually, my cakes are rubbish.
What?
But,
no. You're a great chef. We know that for sure. Well,
not cakes.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it's not. That's the thing. And I would far rather the UK government went investing in refugee camps in, you know, the neighbouring countries to Sudan, in the north of Kenya, just be like, right, Kenyan government, we got to sort this stuff out. We're going to provide all of the, you know, jerry cans full of food. We're even going to send because we've got military bases in Kenya, we're going to send some of our soldiers to help coordinate this. We're going to make sure you've got, you know,
it's very generous
a
of you,
really
Alex.
sort of high level of tents and proper portaloos, you know, whatever, great. Do that, because there are genuine refugees coming out of Sudan, but they shouldn't be coming all the way over here.
Well,
That's
I don't know. I mean, majority of them came from France, which is a perfectly safe country, you know. So, I mean, we know it's an economic thing. I mean, even just this week when I interviewed the mother, Siobhan White, of the woman who was fatally killed by an asylum seeker. The thing that really struck out to me the most about that case when I was reading into it is that this guy was properly the scum of the earth that we imported in. I'm talking about a murderer right now who murdered an innocent woman. He's someone who got rejected from Italy. He then got rejected from Germany. Then he decided after all that, I think he had a kid with someone in Germany too.
Oh, yeah, this is the other thing.
He decided after that to come over to Britain as a last-ditch offer. And then he stabbed someone 23 times with a screwdriver. That's what we're taking in.
It's so ill. It is so ill. And this is the other side to all of this stuff. You know, when I keep talking about these men from misogynistic cultures coming as sex tourists, some of them are. I tell you what, I'm
not
certain.
Not all of them.
Of course not. But some of them, when you look at the videos that the people traffickers put out to coax them into the boats, it's like, oh yeah, go down Bournemouth Beach, I've got some girls in a bikini, you can see the boobs, ooh, isn't it great? You know, it's some of them are genuinely coming over, I think, because they think they want to have a wild couple of years, work in the black market, make more money than they could ever dream of making in a year back at home, have accommodation. Even Shabana Mahmood yesterday was saying that, they all come ask what hotel am I going to?
Yeah.
Where's my phone? They know the score here. But also there will be some who think, I want to stay, therefore I've got to knock someone up.
Oh my
genuinely.
gosh.
And of course there are. This has been going on for years.
Yeah, there's a lot of cases.
Sham marriages.
Yes.
There'll be plenty of men out there who want to stay, and they know that the way they get to stay is having a child in this country, and that is, it's ghoulish.
Yeah, no, I mean, but how desperate can some women on the other side get? So maybe they want that child. Maybe
we poor women are muppets. We're easily taken in.
It takes two to tango. Well, sometimes.
Yeah, no, we're easily taking it. Oh look, hey Alex,
I agree.
I've got my bucket of wine and I'm strapped in, ready for the next half hour with you and Samara. Loved having you back on my screen the last couple of weeks, and I still get Kev on Drive. You've had me belly laughing at some point almost every night. Keep the weird hour going. Claire from Buckley in North Wales is our #1 Weird Hour fan. Margaret in Birmingham says, P.S. hello to Samara.
Oh, that's sweet.
Everyone loves you. You're becoming a talk treasure.
Oh, God, that's the hubris, though.
The princess in the tower.
Oh, God.
That's what you are.
I feel like I'm the person under the dungeon.
I literally keep telling my mum. I keep saying, you've got to meet Samara. I love Samara.
Oh, my God.
Your mum
sounds like a legend, though.
Family. She is a legend. She's an absolute legend. But I keep telling everyone how much I love you. I'm just like, Samara's the most amazing girl on earth.
Doesn't she
I feel like you're
dye her hair?
Better than me. Yes, she
No,
doesn't.
I'm not. But I've seen her have a full head of hair. I know this is now we're getting into weird hour.
My mum still has a full head of hair. Yeah, but it's
a full
still
head
red.
of non-dyed hair that's red. What is that? That's crazy. She's like, what, in her
76?
Madness.
77 this
good
year.
Genetics. You've got good genetics.
Yeah, I know. That's what I always say. For all the things that I got from my mum, massively short-sighted. Had them lasered, guys. Literally had these lasered because I was about to get a free dog, and I still have to wear bins. Like, come on now. That's how far gone I was. And I got that big nose on her as well.
Please.
Occasionally snore as a result of that hooter. But I did get good collagen.
Yeah, you got amazing collagen.
Got all right collagen.
Yeah.
Ban on asylum seekers using taxis for medical... great. That shouldn't be done. Why don't they just get the asylum seekers driving the Ubers to take the other asylum seekers to the doctor's appointments?
Totally. I mean, you can almost not blame them. This is the life of Riley that they're being sold, as you said, by those people smugglers. Like, the enticements, the chutzpah that it takes to be an enterprising man, to come over the channel, to see the opportunities that the United Kingdom is just dishing out. I mean, here's the main problem, and the problem even goes back to the hearts on the cards and the refugees workshop. This is an attitude that would be absolutely fine if we were in some time of great prosperity where our country was sort of heaving at the seams with money. No, it's not. It's not. And by the way, Australia never bowed down to that, even when we were in great prosperity. But we're in massive austerity. There's no sort of town where you can go to in Britain that isn't absolutely falling apart at the seams.
Oh,
it's not
mine. You haven't come to visit me yet.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mine
all right.
Still...
Is that where all the resources are going?
Yeah, mine is still chef's kiss. Don't you worry about that. Mine's a good one. It's the only one left. In fact, it's so good. My mate Sean came to visit me the other day, and he's moving out of his place and moving to my town.
Really? I feel like
he's just literally come for like one night, and now he's like moving.
I feel like you're co-opting people.
Yeah.
Like there are quite some very famous faces that are moving into your city and town. I won't mention too many because I don't want to dox your address.
Is he? Yeah.
Oh my God, really?
Who else is? Oh yeah, Liam Gallagher's moving up the road.
Okay, I don't want to be too specific. It's just like
it's like these people are my friends.
Hearing about what happened to you on the bloody train last night.
If this lot, the talk audience, all right, they can all come and visit.
Yeah,
they'd love it down there.
Oh,
I'm not going to say where it is.
Are you taking commission from these property sales, Alex? Is there something we need to know?
Oh my God, actually, my ex messaged me going, by the way, I've looked at where you live, and I bought my house in August, and he said it's the one part of the country that's massively booming in house price value.
Oh, is it now? Is that what he's saying?
I've already made 45k on my house, apparently.
Oh my God,
with the current valuation. I'm like, yeah, baby.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's sensible. It's homogenised, high-trust, monocultural goodness.
I can't think of anywhere else that's like that.
No, exactly. There's one bastion of sanity left.
It's a great bunch of neighbours. Maybe I'll consider it.
Yeah, you should come. You should come.
I will.
Yeah. I mean, the commute's all right. We were both discussing about, you know, the late night commute. There's always some weird man who has to get his wang out.
Oh, God, I get that in Central.
It's not nice.
Central London's just the same. It's just, you never feel safe anymore. I feel like it's just, I want a Giuliani type to come in. I know there are some candidates that are kind of selling that sort of, those policies, Layla Cunningham, for example. I'm not endorsing anyone in particular, but we do need a Giuliani style.
That's the only candidate who've got a Sadiq card, isn't it?
It's Sadiq versus Cunningham ticket. I mean, who's the Tories putting up? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. There's no name to it.
But normally they put... I mean, actually, do you know what makes me quite sad? When they put up Susan Hall, I didn't know who Susan Hall was, not being an aficionado of the London Assembly. Now we all got to know who Susan Hall is. It's like, yeah, she's amazing.
She's a badass.
She is a badass.
When you see her take Sadiq Khan to task, you're just like, oh my God, no one's ever said no to him. No one's ever said anything to his face for ages. He's ruling the city like a dictator.
She's like an amazing sort of... she reminds me a little bit of my old geography teacher, my old girls' school. You know, just the presence of scare.
Yeah, she absolutely
a bit like
is.
Petri. Petri scares me a bit.
No, Petri scares me.
Petri scares everyone because Petri's hardliner.
Yeah, she's a war correspondent. She was in. She's in the thick of it. She was bloody. We've got nothing on her. At least I don't. I know you've been in some gnarly situations.
Not Petri gnarly. No, no. She's hard as nails.
No Petri tonight though. It's going to be Andre after.
He's not hard as nails.
He hasn't been in a war zone. That's for sure.
He is a war zone. Yeah. Right, we're going to take a short break now. When we come back, we're going to talk about some stuff. Three-fingered gin and tonic. See you soon.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Sorry, I'm just having a conversation because there's this MP on Question Time, and like someone once said to me, "Oh, you look like such and such an MP." I can't remember her name because she doesn't even know, Lopez or something. She doesn't even know her own name. She's famous in her own household, and that's it. But I googled her and I looked at her, and I actually got a bit scared because I thought I do look a bit like you. And just looking at her on TV, I'm like, I'm really upset by it, but I feel like I do look like her. And Samara's like, no, you don't. Which
nothing
is
of the sort. You look like Bridget Bardot. You don't look like
Bridget
her.
Bardot.
You don't look
like a dead woman. A 96-year-old dead rotting carcass.
No, I tell you,
excellent.
Caroline Levitt, who you kind of are like. I think you'll really like her.
Oh, that's cool.
No, but I'll take the Levitt. Oh, she's just announced, breaking news, just want to say, that the US has had the single largest drop in murders in recorded history under President Trump.
Nice.
Yeah.
Trump is up to all sorts of goodness.
He's cleaning this city up.
He's really cleaning the whole everything up. He's cleaning Europe up. He's cleaning up Iran.
Well, not this city.
He's like the cleaner.
Yeah, he really is. Taking everyone to the cleaners.
Apparently there are mice in Parliament. Of course there are. This is a mouse was seen scurrying past Kemi Badenoch when she used a TV interview to lay into... Of course, there's mice everywhere in London. It is a big city, and there's loads of dirt and filth and horrors.
It's my biggest phobia ever, ever, ever. I'm not scared of anything but mice. I cannot handle I once had a flat where there was a mice infestation, not my current one, and I actually had to move out. I couldn't live there anymore.
Yeah, I don't mind mice. I'm like, they're sweet.
Do you have many in your place?
Well, do you know what's ironic? So, no, I actually don't.
Oh, really?
But what's ironic is when I lived in London, my cat was such a good mouser that all the neighbours didn't get mice at all.
Wow.
Apart from when my cat went to stay with my parents when I was travelling, and then all of a sudden, all the mice came back.
Oh, my goodness.
And my neighbour, my old neighbour now, my Chinese neighbour, came over and said to me, "Can I have your cat poo?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "I'll give you some money for it." And I'm like, "Is it all right?" No, but
Why?
she would put my cat's poo in her garden in strategic points because then mice
really
go, "There's a
smart.
cat here."
That's
so I'm not
very
going
smart.
to. But what was ironic is my cat is a good mouser. She's brilliant. But she doesn't kill them. She barely injures them. There's not a hair out of place. She somehow catches the mice and brings them in and lets them loose around my house.
Oh, lovely,
It's
Mog. We love that
yeah,
for
it's
her.
great. Thanks, Mog. Like, she's great at clearing out everyone else's, houses of mice, but she actually brings them in live into my house.
I don't know. What Mog is whip smart. I feel like she knows what she's doing there. It's probably a concerted effort to have a sort of mouse takeover of your place. Maybe she's trying to tell you something.
Does your cat do this thing where she pours like her reflection in windows and mirrors?
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
But my cat's got like 2 brain cells to rub together.
Your
cat, and you know my cat's feral, but that's a whole other thing.
Your cat's great.
Cat is not a euphemism for anything, audience.
No, it's not. It's not. But no, cats are really, like, female cats are a whole different thing to a male cat. A male cat is just like, yeah, give me food, gonna sleep on your lap. Female cat's like, don't touch me, don't want to eat that, don't like those biscuits. But they will catch everything. They're like hyper.
Yeah, they will hunt and they will kill. No, I miss Mog. I miss my cat. I haven't seen her in days. I've just been relegated here. I've been chained to the desk. It's just it's just been I'm joking. I'm absolutely joking.
Do you know what you need?
The story is that
in this roller coaster that is our life, you need a good trip to Alton Towers. Is what you need.
Go on.
Alton Towers, as an Australian, I'll explain to you, this is the biggest theme park in the UK.
Yeah.
It's like the one with all the coolest roller coasters and gubbins and stuff. It's like, synonymous with a theme park. Anyway, good old Alton Towers has banned theme park goers with ADHD and anxiety from using their magical lanyards to skip the queues. Because, you get to go to the front of the queue if you're a sort of...
There'd be queues for that now, though. I mean, everyone's got ADHD and anxiety.
Well, no, but this is the thing. Like, I can understand why there's queues. If you've got, poor kids who have really, been dealt a bad card in life.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, don't wait around for an hour. You come, sit at the front if you want to.
Sure.
I think that's lovely and plausible. And so if you have a disability, you can jump the queue. But people have been turning up with anxiety. And it's like, oh... Scared of queuing, are you? That making you a bit nervous, is it? Don't mind the roller coaster, though. Oh, the vertical drop being dangled upside down like you're in some ISIS cage out in Syria. Like, what the hell? Like, you can't have anxiety of queuing, but be fine on Nemesis.
Yeah, you're right. No, you make such a good point, because it is true. It will impact those who are actually disabled, actually wanting to go and experience the rides. And then it's like, you've got Mia there with her anxiety because she couldn't, finish a test on time.
I hope my neighbour Mia is not listening to me.
Oh my God, no, I love that Mia.
Met my Mia.
No, but I'm just saying the Mias and the Indias of the world just sort of glide by life.
Are these the Australian names for, it's like our sort of St. John's and Camillas?
Pretty much, exactly. And they say, yes, I have anxiety, I can't do it. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is totally, it's ridiculous that they had it in the first place, but I mean, it must have been a real issue for them. They must have been having massive queues and lines, because I haven't met anyone in the last kind of year or so that hasn't got ADHD or anxiety.
Oh, everyone's got some sort of acronym now.
Yeah, everyone's got...
What's your acronym? What have you got?
Oh, God, I've got it all, man.
I'll tell you what my acronym is. I definitely think I've got that SAD, that seasonal affective disorder, which
What's
probably
that?
doesn't exist in Australia because it's like nice and sunny year round. But this.
When you go depresso
Makes
in
you
the winter.
go like, well depresso.
Oh, God. I mean,
that's my acronym.
The issue is when someone... I went for dinner the other night and someone said to me, oh, I have to cancel because of my anxiety. I can't. And it was like 5 minutes before the dinner. And it's like, are you kidding me?
What was scary about going for dinner with you?
To be honest, there's a lot. And also, it's probably a get out of jail free card.
I'll tell you what it is. It's because you're probably taking the poor person to a vegetarian restaurant.
Yeah,
Let's say it was leaving the house full.
Yeah, you're right.
Where's the meat?
Now. Yeah, it was probably that. But it's like, I'm so sick of people masking bad behaviour with their anxiety disorder or their ADHD. I've got a lot of time for people who genuinely suffer.
True. There are a load of people who now just sort of, yeah, exactly. They use it as an excuse. Well, I get, you know, it's like, no, you're just a beep. It's a thing. It's like the minute that some, you know, celebrity male is found out sort of groping people up, and it's like, oh, sorry, it must be because of some, you know, mental health condition. No, you're just a perv. Put your hands back in your pockets. Get out!
It's my anxiety. Yeah, no, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad. So they've scrapped it, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So nature is healing.
Nature is healing.
You know, you've got Graham Linehan on your show. You've got everything is kind of going back to what it once was. But I think we've still got a very, very
long
long
path. How are you on theme park rides? Do you like it?
I hate theme parks. I hate...
I quite like him.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
The adrenaline rush?
Yeah, I don't like things that go round, but I do like roller coasters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You would never find yourself on, like, the spinny teacups.
Yeah, not really. The worst is that pirate ship. I can't be dealing with that.
Yeah, that's so
That's
rough.
basically just someone sort of trying to shake you up and down and make the puke come out. You know, it's like, Dean, that thing. Sorry, Dean, we are going to go to break now. Don't go anywhere. We're back for a little bit more after this.
Hello and welcome to Talk Down the Local. Tonight, we're at McCafferty's in Epsom in Surrey.
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of this desperation. I think it's almost a plea for help.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it. Actually, I quite like Suits.
People coming to the pub and drinking 0% alcoholic drinks, they're still coming to the pub and doing trade.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going, but I have 0% beers, and I feel
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
All right there. Now, while you're enjoying your three-fingered gin and tonic, you might want to enjoy this little advertisement, because our very own Phil Dave is introducing a new show in Talk Towers, Down the Local. This is what it's going to be like.
Hello and welcome to Talk Down the Local. Tonight, we're at McCafferty's in Epsom in Surrey.
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of this desperation. I think it's almost a plea for help.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it. Actually, I quite like Suits.
People coming to the pub and drinking 0% alcoholic drinks, they're still coming to the pub and doing trade.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going, but I have 0% beers, and I feel.
Oh, there we are. They've let our very own Phil Dave out in the wild.
Hell yeah. I mean, they might regret their choices. That man he's a fun time when he gets out on the
Something
wild.
tells me Dean's probably behind that. It involves alcohol. See? Dean, did you invent that?
It's a great show, though. It's fantastic format. It's really, Phil's worked on it for a long time.
Can I just say, we were supposed to, I thought, by the way, yeah, come on, Matt, because during the last advert break, Matt came in because he's made some presents for us.
Aww, Matt.
Look at this. Now, Matt, we love Matt. This is Matt, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe we should get Dean in as well so you can see his face. This is the lovely assistant producer, Matt.
Lovely
If you
Matt.
phone up,
Lovely
034449, that's him. That's him. But look at this. He's made some special hearts for us. Fascists not welcome.
Oh,
yeah.
that's so sweet.
Refugees are welcome.
You can put that up in your new place with the furnishings.
Free money, please. Oh, I love this. Hold on.
That's so kind
Nobody
of you.
illegal on stolen land.
Well, that's a common line, isn't it?
That's the one.
a TikTok.
Help, not slogans.
Oh,
thank you, Matt. He's very creative.
Just share the kindness.
He has got the
better
handwriting
now.
of a serial killer, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening, it's serial killer-esque. It's rough.
There is some sort of there's an anger in, especially in the fascists not welcome. I'm actually thinking in his spare time he goes down those marches.
Well, yeah. I mean, the sentiment.
He lives a double life. He's always got a weird, suspicious rucksack with him. What's in that rucksack, son?
Well, let's not share his nickname on screen.
We're not going to share his nickname. He has got a nickname, but we're not going to share it because any nickname I come up with is totally inappropriate and definitely not Ofcom compatible. But talking about names, there's a thing in the Daily Mail, I think it is your name dying out? Use our tool to find out. But it's like names now are weird.
Yeah,
they're really weird. I mean, of course, we know that all the top names are Mohammed, Nabil, and Iqra, of course, because this is the caliphate.
Well, that's who's having the kids. I'm not. They're having children.
What are like the sort of
there's no
weird
tomorrow.
woke names in Australia? Well, because I always think of Australian stuff like it used to be Bruce and Sheila.
Yeah,
then
there's
it's
Bruce,
Kylie.
Sheila. You've got Tarquin. Well, you've got Tarquin over. Yeah, you've got Tuckabee was a very popular one over there. You've obviously you've got people like Shane. You know,
Shane. Shine.
You have still got Sheila as a thing. I mean, it doesn't stop. But we've adopted many names from the Brits. Like we've stolen everything else from them.
Everything now is sort of slightly weird names. Like Otterley has spread around. I'm like, put that back in the paint can.
woke.
Go away. Arlo.
Very Islington.
Very
the Islington set.
Just sounds like a mass milk manufacturer to me.
You got like Hunter.
Oh,
Tucker's very popular, but that's an American name.
Anyway, what's nice is some old names are coming back. Ava, Freya. I quite like. They're sort of slightly traditional British names. I don't mind that.
I like
and at least we've come out the other end of a while ago. Everyone just gave sickly names to kids like Poppy, Bunny.